Hello everyone! Welcome to Scraplift Saturday here at the Crafty Maven. So I made a bunch of these gorgeous feathers and I'm going to show you how I did it. This cut file is a free cut file from Paige Evans. You can get it in her Facebook group. And I'm taking the feather and I'm just going to smush some Ultra embossing ink onto my feather, and then I'm going to start by heat embossing it. This is Ultra embossing powder in iridescent pearl, and it's gorgeous. I adore how these feathers turned out. I'm kind of iffy on my layout. Some of it didn't go exactly to plan, but you'll see that actually just one thing didn't go exactly to plan, and you'll see that as I continue on with my process here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit this feather with my heat tool to melt all of that gorgeous embossing and get it good and hot and sticky, or not sticky, melted, not sticky. Ugh. So I hope you are all having a fabulous day here at the Crafty Maven, and I hope you've had a fabulous month and enjoyed all of the videos that have been provided for you. These are the papers that I'm using. All these papers are from Moda Scrap, which is an Italian scrapbooking company, and this collection is called Fly and Scrap, and I love it. It's beautiful, so beautiful. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this paper that's all different colors. I traced my feather, and now I'm going to fussy cut the feather out. And then I'm going to go ahead and back it with this paper, or back the cut file. So the layout that I am scraplifting today is from a member of the Cocoa Daisy design team. I saw the layout on Pinterest and it was gorgeous. I loved it so much. So as it turns out, all the products that she used on her layout I have in my stash. So I seriously thought about doing just a totally direct scrap lift of her layout. But then I decided that I wanted to mix it up a bit. So instead of doing 12 by 12, I'm going to do 8.5 by 11. Instead of butterflies, we're going to have feathers. And it's going to go like the opposite direction. So now I've pulled out some of my shimmers. This is a piece of 8.5 by 11 basil marshmallow cardstock, which I get at Amazon. And I'm just going to do some simple splatters. So these are some shimmer paints. I have Peacock, Plume, Orchid, Straw, and Lilac Blossom. And I'm just going to go ahead and do some splatters of all three of these colors. So the photos we're going to be working with today are photos of peacocks. We live rather closely to an animal park called Living Treasures. Well, it's maybe a little bit further than close. I don't know. It's about an hour and a half. Anyway, we love to visit there. My kids love to visit there. And I always take the most amazingly gorgeous pictures of animals there. So this is going to be two photos I took of the peacocks on our last visit that we were there. I also am going to be starting a traveler's notebook of insert of all of my animal photos that I've taken, kind of like I have another traveler's notebook insert that I do. That's all flowers. But for this particular two peacock photos, I really decided I wanted to do an 8.5 by 11. And I've kind of decided there are a couple photos, that have my boys in them, or that have stories or journaling that I want to tell, and those are going to be 8.5 by 11. And the photos that are just cute animal pictures are going to be in the traveler's notebook. And that's how I'm going to organize it, because I have, oh my word, hundreds of photos from this animal park. So what you see me doing here is I really loved the idea of the doily in my Scraplift example, and I wanted a doily. So I have these really nice big 8-inch ones from Spiegelmom Scraps, and I really considered using them. In fact, I go ahead and keep that one underneath for a while, but in the end I decided it's just too big for the page, and I'm going to flip it out for something else, but you'll see that. So I really wanted to do these banner pieces, and so I got the 6x6 paper. This is the coordinating paper that matches, like this is the 6x6 size, and then I used the 12x12 size for the back of my feathers. And then I also I'm just trying to line this up, and then I get it crooked anyway. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the, yeah, see, I get it crooked anyway. And then you did see me map my photos with another paper from this collection, that more bluey paper. So I wanted this to be peacock colors, but I wanted them to be a little bit pastel-y and not quite so saturated. And then I'm going to stick this down and I'm going to pull it off because in the end I felt like it just didn't work. So next step here is to go ahead and grab my background paper and start gluing down feathers. I also went through my stash and I grabbed some title stickers and tile stickers because I know exactly what I want my title to be. When I was cutting these on my silhouette, before I cut them, I laid them out on an 8.5 by 11 canvas, and I snapped a photo of it on my phone so that I had a good idea of where I wanted to place these feathers before I started. I did end up needing one more feather. I had 7 here, but originally I cut 8 and the embossing didn't go well. On one of them I had to kind of just set it off to the side and not use it. So there should be another feather, but I'm going to deal with that. That's not the part of this layout that really like irritated me. So I'm just laying the feathers out, and this is where I look and I'm like, I want the feathers to be more on display. I'm not super happy. I want more of the feathers to be on display because I worked really hard on them. So I'm going to move them around a little bit. I did have them quite stuck down. I probably shouldn't have stuck them down quite as good as I did, but that's okay. In the end, they all stick and they're all fine. I'm just going to decide where I want this fourth one to go. And go ahead and continue to stick them down where I want them to be. So here's where I decided I don't like the doily. So I'm going to pull this big doily off, and I'm going to go into my stash. I still like the look of the doily, right? So I still want like something behind them. And what I did was I found these smaller silver doilies, and those were perfect. You see more of the feathers this way. You still get that elegant kind of doily look that is super duper cute. And so yeah, that's what I decided I was going to do. So I'm going to take some foam squares because I want to pop the banners up. And this is the part where I mess this up. So irritating to me. So when I was putting this out together, I was talking to my husband. We were having this conversation. We were just like, you know, talking. And what I did was right here. It needed to go up more. So I didn't center my pictures. So now I have a way big gap at the top and not enough room at the bottom, which you'll see when I start to do my title. So yeah, and of course I didn't realize it right away, or I could have moved it up, but so irritating to me because it was like perfect. I just needed to push it up a little bit. Anyway, okay. So now I'm going to work on my title. My title is going to be a Peacock and a Flock of Pigeons, which I thought was just cute and sweet. And like I said, this layout is purely for fun. This is just, you know, one of those layouts you just do because you wanted to play with feathers and embossing powder and your brand new Moda scrap paper. And you liked the idea of having pretty peacocks in your scrapbook, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix up get all of my title, all my lettering done. I chose like a really bold, glittery font for Peacock, and I chose a kind of woody, less glittery font for Pigeon. And actually, off camera, I'm going to play around with this title quite a bit, and I do some of the work on camera and some of it off. And it's at about this moment that I realized what I've done, that my photos needed to be more centered and up higher, and that I've got this huge gap at the top of my page, whereas the bottom is like almost touching the bottom of the page. So I'm going to fix it. I'm going to try to fix it. And I'm going to do that by moving my title around a little bit. So I'm going to move Peacock to up above the doily to fill in some of that empty space. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to like shift all of my title up just a little bit. And that does help. For me, it still irritates me. Like, I just want to be like, move everything up. But it's totally fine. It's more irritation at myself than anything. So here's the title all done, and oh, not quite done. So you see how I kind of moved like everything up. And then the other thing that I did was, off camera, I took the word pigeons and I scooched all of those letters over so that you see how Peacock kind of comes off the side of the page or off the side of the photo. Now I moved pigeons over so it kind of does the same thing and creates a little bit of a diagonal. So I grabbed some white enamel dots. They're matte enamel dots, and I'm just putting them over. There were some splashes of shimmers that hadn't completely dried once I started to stick everything down, and they had kind of smudged and I didn't like them. So I grabbed some enamel dots to put over them. And that will complete this layout. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today here on the Crafty Maven. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will be back again later this month.